Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Diego with the beautiful Karina, my lovely prometida, and we are waiting for our K1 visa to get adjudicated at the Service Center in California. Okay, and I'm from the Panhandle of Florida. I live near Pensacola, east of Pensacola, north of Navarre Beach. And my beautiful prometida Karina is originally from Caracas, Venezuela, and she has been a legal resident of Bogota, Colombia since 2018. And this video, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is how to get a K1 fiance visa in 4 easy but long steps. Now, if you're familiar with the K1 visa already in the process, this video could be a refresher for you guys, or if you know the process completely, you can tell other people to watch it if they're interested in the K1 visa, or just watch another video. So come on along, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we give you a step-by-step process in 4 easy steps on how to get a K1 visa, fiance visa, through USCIS, which is U.S. immigration, which is ran by Homeland Security. Now, Karina and I, we are not immigration attorneys. We're not doctors, okay? We are not... I'm a real estate agent, and Karina is a master cake preparer and manager of a cake store plus in Bogota, Colombia. But we have a lot of experience with the K1 visa process, okay? And we're not offering you guys any legal advice here. This is just an educational overview on the basic K1 visa process from our experience, okay? And so, like I said, we're not offering any legal advice. If you need legal advice, you need to contact an attorney in your state where you live. Or if you want, in your home country, Mr. Beneficiary, you can do that also. So what is a K1 visa? What is it? Well, a K1 visa is a fiance visa, okay? It's a kind of like a non-immigrant visa that allows you, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, U.S. citizen, to allow your fiance, who is known as a beneficiary, who lives in a foreign country. Now, I'm the sponsor for Karina. I'm the U.S. citizen. I'm the retired Navy guy who's a real estate agent, and Karina is a Venezuelan citizen who lives in Colombia. So I have the legal authority, by virtue of being a U.S. citizen, to apply for her and petition for her to become my beautiful bride here in Florida, hopefully sooner rather than later. So number one, you got to be a U.S. citizen, okay? Now, once the K1 visa gets approved, okay, Karina and I will get married on the beach here in Florida, and we will then apply for her green card, okay, which will give her a 2-year probationary green card, and then after that we'll lift the conditions on that green card and get her a 10-year lawful permanent residency green card. And applying for a K1 visa is a good option also if you, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, who Mr. American citizen, cannot get married in your fiance's foreign country. That would be a totally different visa, but we're not going to cover that in this video. And getting a K1 visa, the total time frame is approximately 12 to 18 months. But things are definitely speeding up as we are now in March of 2023, and visa processing is definitely speeding up for folks who are applying for visas now. Now, here are some frequently asked questions. Who is eligible for a K1 visa? Who can apply? Who qualifies? Well, to receive a K1 visa, you qualify for this benefit through the following, okay? Either you or your fiance is a U.S. citizen. Number one, got to be an American citizen. Green card holders cannot apply for K1 visas, okay? You and your fiance plan to marry each other within 90 days upon his or her arrival into the United States on his or her K1 visa. And you and your beneficiary can legally marry each other in the United States, and any past marriages are all terminated, divorced, and final divorce decrees are in hand, or death certificates if unfortunately there was a death, or if there was an annulment. You got to be able to you got to be legally free to marry each other, okay? And the United States government does not discriminate against same-sex marriage, and so yes, same-sex partners are eligible for the K-1 visa. This applies to everybody. You and your fiance must have met each other face-to-face, in person, at least once in the 2-year period before you file your application, okay? Now, if meeting your fiance would violate any religious or cultural practices, or if it would cause an extreme hardship, you can request a waiver for this in-person meeting requirement. But I have never once seen, ever, have I ever seen the U.S. government approve a K-1 visa unless you have met face-to-face. So meet up, okay? Meet each other, face-to-face. To qualify for the K-1 visa, ladies and gentlemen, you, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, and you, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Beneficiary, must prove that your relationship is legitimate. It's not a fraud, it's legitimate. And you can demonstrate this with evidence from the beginning of your relationship, okay, to when you get engaged, and then past the engagement to when you get close to the embassy interview stage. Now, your U.S. citizen sponsor, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Beneficiary, his or her household income must be at least 100% or more than the minimum federal guidelines or poverty guidelines. And then when you get to the United States and adjust your status to a green card, it must be 125% or greater of the federal poverty guidelines. So check and see and ask your sponsor, Miss Beneficiary, how much money does he make, or she? If your sponsor's income is below the amount that the federal government permits or qualifies you for, then you must submit a supplemental form, I-864, with your K-1 visa, or I-864A, which is a joint sponsor. So the government's not going to stop you. Uncle Sam's not going to stop you. He's just going to make sure that your beneficiary does not become a public charge, which means she doesn't become dependent, or he, on the taxpayers of the United States when he or she gets to the United States and you guys get married. Your sponsor needs to be able to support you. Okay? All right. Now there's an exception to this rule, okay, regarding the joint sponsor. If you are a beneficiary in the Philippines, the U.S. government or the U.S. Embassy in the Philippines in Manila will not permit a joint sponsor. So you need to find someone that makes 125% plus of the federal poverty guidelines at a minimum, okay? And it's 100% for the K-1 visa at the embassy interview. But then you got to think about when you go and apply for the green card, you got to qualify. And you can use assets also. But if you're from the Philippines, you cannot do that, okay? So now you have determined that you qualify for this visa, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Beneficiary. You're eligible for the K-1 visa, so you can apply for it using this wonderful 4-step easy process, okay? Do you need an attorney to do this paperwork? No. It's easy paperwork. But if you're not confident, if you don't feel like you have the confidence to do this on your own, then hire you an attorney. But Karina and I, we ran the ball by ourselves because it's not a difficult process, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do, step 1, is you're going to file the form I-129F. USCIS form I-129F. USCIS form I-129F is the petition for alien fiancé, and you file it with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, and you mail it to what's known as the lockbox in Dallas, Texas, okay? And you get the address and the forms from USCIS.gov. Go to their website, USCIS.gov, and forms, and you can find the form and you can find the address on where to mail the K-1 visa. And the purpose of this form, this 13-page document, is to prove that your relationship is legitimate, okay? And it must be filed by a U.S. citizen who is domiciled in the United States of America. So if you, Mr. Sponsor, are an American citizen, but you live in Hong Kong, and you don't have a domicile or address in the United States, and you have to come back to the United States, get you an apartment, set up a domicile, and then you qualify. So you got to be domiciled in the United States, Mr. American citizen, in order to qualify also. And like I mentioned, you got to be a U.S. citizen to qualify for this benefit. A lawful permanent resident, okay, also known as a green card holder, cannot request a K-1 visa for their fiancé. Okay, go to uscis.gov, find Form I-129F, download the instructions, download the 13 pages and study the form, and then from the information that you gather from the form, you can start collecting the documents that you're going to need and the information you're going to require to fill out this form. It's all called pre-planning. Pre-planning, okay? All right. You're going to include in your K-1 visa package proof, evidence that your relationship is real, is bona fide, okay? Which means legitimate. Generally speaking, the more evidence you provide, the better for you, okay? Pictures of you and your fiancé together, but you got to make sure you include pictures of you and your fiancé and her friends and her family. USCIS is more interested in seeing pictures of you, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Sponsor, with friends and family. Selfies are nice, okay, but more importantly, USCIS want to see family and friends pictures. Keep all your flight records. Include your flight records, hotel reservations, trips you took together. And I recommend, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, a minimum. It's not a requirement, but I recommend a minimum of 2 trips to go visit with your fiancé, not 1, which is required by immigration. 2, include letters or texts or Yahoo chats or WhatsApp chats. Here, this little application right here, put it on your cell phone. It's WhatsApp. Use that to communicate with your beneficiary. Okay. Written statements from your family and friends or colleagues who know that you guys are engaged. Proof that both of your prior marriages have ended, either that you were formally married. This would include final divorce decrees, annulments, death certificates, etc. Very important, okay? It must say final divorce decree on the documents, and they have to be certified original copies stamped from the courthouse. You cannot download your divorce decree from the internet because the courthouse emailed it to you. You need to go in person to the courthouse, have them print it, have them stamp it, sign it, pay for it, and use that divorce decree. And like I mentioned, you got to have proof that you guys met in person, face to face, within 2 years prior to when you filed the K-1 visa. So if you met each other face to face 2 years and 2 days ago, and you file your K-1 visa, it will be denied. It will be, well, they'll ask you for further evidence. What happened? Where were you on these 2 days? You've got to file your K-1 visa within 2 years of your meeting each other face to face. If you don't, your visa will be denied. Get sworn statements written by your friends, your family, that you know they're familiar with your relationship. Print your Facebook chats, show on Facebook that you have an engagement on Facebook. That is evidence that's very important, and it's public. Don't be hiding stuff. Immigration don't like when you hide your relationship. You need to write 2 letters of intent to get married. One by you, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Beneficiary, and one by you, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor. You write letters of intent to get married, that you are swearing to a legal document that you're going to promise immigration you guys are going to get married within 90 days upon your beneficiary's arrival into the United States. You do this with a letter of intent to get married. You include in the letter of intent that you are a U.S. citizen, or your beneficiary will state her citizenship or his citizenship, that you promise to get married within 90 days and that you both are legally free and able to get married. It's a legal document, and you sign the original. And then if your beneficiary, she will write her letter of intent to get married in her language of her country and get it translated into English and notarized. And then she will sign the original. You will mail the original letters in your K-1 visa package and make copies for your records. Do not send copies. Send the originals. If your beneficiary, Mr. or Miss Sponsor, came to visit you in the United States on vacation, or if you met each other in the United States, he or she could have been working here, you must include in your K-1 visa package a copy of your arrival and departure form I-94, arrival and departure record for your beneficiary. Okay, this will prove that she or he entered the United States legally and was entered into the United States with a face-to-face meeting with a Customs and Border Patrol officer when he or she came to see you, whether on vacation or whatever the case may be. You will need a passport style photo of you, Mr. Sponsor, and your beneficiary, and then on the back of the passport style photo, write the name of the person fully in pencil, I recommend, and then put that in a Ziploc bag and put that behind your I-129F as part of your K-1 visa package. Then you got to write a check for the filing fee, and as of March 2023, the filing fee is $535, but that's going to change, I'm sure, in May of 2023 when immigration reviews and revises its fee payments. Okay, you can pay your K-1 visa fee by check, money order, or credit card. Just make sure if you use a check or money order that you fill out the check properly, and we made a video on how to fill out the check. USCIS does not accept cash. If you don't fill out the check properly, the whole thing will be sent back to you, okay, and you have to start over. Once you mail your fantastic, strong, error-free, no typos, signed and dated I-129F visa package to the lockbox, okay, USCIS will send you a receipt notice called an NOA-1 letter within usually 5 days to 30 days. If you include G1145 form, USCIS form G1145, immigration will send you a text message with a receipt number telling you they've received your K-1 visa package. If there are any errors in your K-1 visa package, they will either send everything back to you, or they'll send you an RFE for you to correct the problem. Okay. It usually takes between 13 to 18 months to process a I-129F K-1 visa petition. But you know, we're in March of 2023, and definitely the time frame to do this process has speeded up significantly over the past 6 months. Significantly. So probably it's not going to take that long. Take with that about a year, but be ready for a long wait for your second letter or approval letter, which is your NOA-2. Every USCIS service center, there's Texas, California, Vermont, they have different processing times, but primarily USCIS Service Center California is receiving the bulk of the K-1 visa petitions, followed closely by Texas. Okay, so the amount of time it will take to process your petition depends on what service center your package goes to. And then while you're waiting for your second letter, your NOA-2 letter, your approval letter, like I said, it's going to be about a year. Plus, be on the lookout for an RFE, which is a letter requesting further evidence. Don't panic if you get an RFE. It just means you missed something, you skipped something, and immigration want to see it. It doesn't mean your visa is blocked or denied. It just means they're looking at it and they need to see extra evidence. And if you do not provide the evidence requested, then there's a good possibility your visa will be denied, okay? Once USCIS approves your visa, they'll send you an NOA-2 letter, Notice of Action 2 letter saying, your visa's been approved. And what happens next is that they'll mail the letter to whatever address you put on your K-1 visa package. So if you move during this process, you better make sure you tell USCIS, the service center, if you move, you got to tell them that you moved and your new address. Okay, very important. So you got your NOA-2 letter, your visa's been approved. What happens next? What's the next step? Once USCIS approves your visa petition, okay, they will transfer your case to the National Visa Center called the NVC in New Hampshire. Okay, you will then receive a notice from the National Visa Center through the U.S. Embassy in your beneficiary's home country. After USCIS has approved your visa, by the way, and depending on the workload at the National Visa Center, the U.S. Embassy in your beneficiary's country will send you a letter, an email, and you'll get a case number from the NVC, and you start processing your face-to-face visa interview. So you get an NOA-2 letter. USCIS at the service center mails your approved visa package to the National Visa Center. USCIS California, Texas, whatever, mails your package to the National Visa Center. The National Visa Center processes it, gives you a case number, and then depending on their workload, how long it takes them, they will then mail the package to the U.S. Embassy in your beneficiary's home country. Okay? You will then receive a notice from the embassy, like Karina will get a notice and I will get a notice from the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, Colombia, about the date and time of the required visa interview. But actually, because it's Bogota, I will be responsible, or Karina will be responsible for scheduling that interview with the scary immigration officer at the U.S. Embassy in Bogota. Okay? We will get directions and we will follow directions. It's that simple. We will get what's known as a packet 3 and packet 4. We've made videos about that. Basically, we're going to receive information on the list of additional supporting documents that Karina will need and the instructions on that we will follow, and we will provide these documents to the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, which applies to all embassies globally. So whichever country it is in that you live in, Miss Beneficiary, it's the same process. Make sure that the contact information on your Form I-129F is correct. Make sure the address is correct where you live, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, or you may not receive this information. Okay? Now, once you receive the notice from the MVC, you need to complete the State Department's online DS-160 form, which is basically the application, which is your beneficiary's form. You can help her with it or him, but it's your beneficiary's application for the K-1 visa. After you complete the DS-160, which is a is a Department of State form, once you, Mr. Beneficiary, Miss Beneficiary, and Sponsor have completed the DS-160, you must print the confirmation page, because you're going to bring the confirmation page to the visa interview. Okay? Very, very important that you do not forget to bring that confirmation page. No confirmation page, no visa interview. You will be bringing supporting documents, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Beneficiary. The U.S. Embassy processing your case will request documents from you and your American fiancé, and every embassy globally around the world has specific process for providing these documents. So be sure to follow the instructions that you get in the notice from the embassy. Okay? You're gonna need documents from your U.S. fiancé, Miss Beneficiary. You're going to need his or her affidavit of support, which is USCIS form I-134, which he signs and dates, or he or she signs and dates. It's basically a legal document that is telling the U.S. Embassy consular officer and the State Department that you, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, are going to take care of your beneficiaries financially. Okay, you're not going to become a public charge or dependent upon the U.S. taxpayers for his or her support when she's in the United States. Other supporting documents that you need to bring to the visa interview would be 3 years worth of tax returns, W-2s, 1099s, and tax transcripts. Okay? Now, I say tax returns and tax transcripts because some embassies requesting tax returns only, and I saw in a visa group where somebody showed up for their visa interview with only the tax returns, but there was a delay of 3 months because the embassy consular officer requested the transcripts too. So get both, and bring both to your visa interview. Tax transcripts, tax returns, W-2s, 1099s, etc. Okay? And your beneficiary needs to bring a complete copy of the K-1 visa package that you sent to the Dallas lockbox originally a year and a half ago. Bring that with her or him to the visa interview. Your beneficiary, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, will need to bring 2 passport style photos to the visa interview, his or her birth certificate translated into English by a certified translator if necessary, a copy of his or her valid unexpired passport, with an exception for Venezuela. Venezuelans can travel on an expired passport. Police clearance certificates from all countries that your beneficiary has lived in for 6 months or more since he or she was 16 years old. Karina lived in Venezuela. Karina's been living in Colombia for 5+ years. So we got police certificates from Venezuela and from Colombia. Okay? Then he or she will have a medical exam by a doctor approved by the State Department or the U.S. Embassy in that country. And that medical exam and vaccination documentation will be in a sealed envelope, which you will also bring to your visa interview. do not open the medical exam documentation. Do not open it. Step 3 of this visa plan, this K1 visa process, is attend your visa interview, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Beneficiary, and pay the visa fee. Okay? Now, your visa interview will take place at a U.S. embassy or a U.S. consulate listed on the notice that you received from the National Visa Center. National Visa Center will send you a letter with directions. Okay? So you're going to go wherever, like Karina, she will go to her visa interview at the U.S. Embassy in Bogota. Okay, and this takes between 4 to 8 weeks once, to set up. But like I said, every embassy is different. It could take 3 months. It could take 2 weeks to schedule an appointment for your visa interview. Depends on the embassy workload, staffing, and things like that. Okay, only your beneficiary, your fiance, needs to attend the visa interview. Although some embassies around the world do allow for you, Mr. Sponsor, Miss Sponsor, to be accompanying your beneficiary, your fiance. Okay, and the interview is usually pretty straightforward, and I recommend that you be honest, totally honest with the questions that you get, and dress business casual. Okay, there is a $265 fee for the K1 fiance visa, which you pay to the embassy, and you usually pay this at the visa interview, or pay it pay it online, pay it whatever. You're going to pay the fee, and I don't know if that visa fee is going to go up in May or not. It could not. This is March 2023. The fee could go up in May 2023. Be calm, be cool in your business attire, and follow the instructions that were given to you on the notice, and just follow the directions of the consulate. Okay, the consular officer who is conducting your visa interview will make a decision on the same day as the interview, yes or no. Or you could get a request for further evidence. You may have forgotten something. You may have not translated your birth certificate into English. You may be missing a tax transcript. Whatever the case may be. Okay, if the immigration officer needs additional evidence, they will ask you for it. Okay, after the interview. Step 4, you come to the United States with your K1 visa in your hand, and you get married. And once your visa has been approved, you will get a sealed packet of information that you do not open. Okay, do not open. The U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agents will inspect you when you enter the United States. So when Karina, she enters into Miami International Airport with her sealed K1 visa package and medical exam, and probably an x-ray, and a chest x-ray, she will not open that package. She will hand it to the Border Patrol officer, and he or she will open that package. Okay, if you open the package on the plane because you just got to stick your nose in the business, you just got to take a peek, the Border Patrol officer more than likely will not let you enter the United States, and will send you back on your next plane back to your home country. Once you have your visa and your passport, Miss Beneficiary, Mr. Beneficiary, you got 6 months to use it. Use it or lose it. If you don't use it within the time period, it gets canceled out. Boom. And then within 90 days of you getting in the United States, you guys have got to get married, okay, to your U.S. citizen fiance. If you don't, you will lose your K1 status. And if you don't get married, you lose your status, and you got to come back to your home country as soon as possible. Okay, and you cannot change your K1 status to any other status than a marriage green card. Mr. Beneficiary, Miss Beneficiary, you cannot use your K1 visa to marry somebody else other than the person who applied for you, your sponsor. Okay, if you marry somebody else other than your sponsor, you will be told to return back to the United States, back to your home country, and then your new husband will have to file a different visa and start the process all over again, and then you're going to have a big explanation as to what happened and why you did what you did. Okay? So you made it through this horrible K1 visa process, you got to the United States, you got married, and now your sponsor, okay, can help you do the paperwork and apply for your marriage green card. Okay, Form I-485. Application to register permanent residency or adjust status, and include in that paperwork all the required supporting forms and documents. But that's another video, okay? So to learn more about this process, check out our videos in this, your YouTube channel. This is your YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're here for you, and we will see you very soon in the United States of America with your K-1 visa in your passport. And soon you will be married and starting your new life in a constitutional republic, the United States. Thanks for watching.
I'll be back.